Well, I was going to stop and upload it, but it's taking some time, so I'll just go ahead and continue, and I'll make part 3, and it's probably be about 15 minutes. Um, and then, as I said, I've shared in video 1 and 2. You know, video 1 is basically laying the foundations of being grateful and thankful, and telling all these people who have claimed to be voices that represent me, you're fired. And I don't, I don't want flesh anymore to think they know what's going on. It's hard enough for me to figure out. I don't need you all confusing it any longer. So, with that said, don't tithe anymore to priests and churches and all of these deacons and bishops and pastors and imams and rabbis. You're fired. As I said, you're fired. Second of all, I've kind of laid the groundwork of how I came to discover I was the Son of Man, and how my name is in the Bible going back into ancient days. In this part 3 video, I will talk about just how to. This video is trying to help you better understand what the Bible is about. And as I said, the Bible is not just a book on ethical, moral, and spiritual behavior. It's a math book. It's a chemistry book. It's a science book. It's a book of prophecy. It's a book that's basically even useful to today. And I'll give you an example of how it's a math book. You all have heard the story of Cain and Abel. Well, then, the two brothers, the older brother and the younger brother, and the older brother does some crazy stuff, kills the younger brother, and one was given dominion over low-hanging, or over vegetation. The other one was given dominion over the animals. Well, all of that stuff is just like a metaphor, and you've got to look into it. But the story of Cain and Abel is a story of a square, or the quadratic equation. And I derive that because, A, you look at the name, Cain and Abel, Cainabel. But it's also Genesis chapter 4. So you're dealing with a four-sided object, which is a box or a square. And if you look at the quadratic equation, what is it? It's a squared x plus bx plus c equals 0. That's the formula of quadratic equation. Well, just decode the Bible. Well, what's the first word in the Bible? It's in. And as in, in. And then, another term for God is Elohim. So when you look at Cain, you see God of heaven and flesh. And then you see Abel, God of heaven and earth, and that's Elohim. So you got Cainabel. Well, you've got two A's, so A2, A squared, X. We'll just use X as a connotation of God. So you got A squared X. Then you've got a B for Abel, X plus C equals 0. And Elohim and N is reference to God of heaven. Elohim is God of earth. So that's how you get the formula. Well, you also have 4 possible scenarios or solutions or situations in which you have with these two brothers. You've got an older brother and a younger brother. Well, the older brother, he could be good, and the younger brother be good. Well, that story is kind of self-evident, when you got 2 good brothers. Then you could have 2 evil brothers, and that's pretty much a self-explanatory story. And then you got a good older brother and an evil younger brother, and that's pretty self-explanatory. But in this particular case, we have an evil older brother and a good younger brother. And that also foreshadows into my story. But not by being evil and all that stuff, but just in birth order, because it was the second son. Or third son in my case, as in Seth was the third son. Well, I'm the third son of my family. I got 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters than me. So that's the story behind Cain and Abel, and how it's just a representation of the quadratic equation. And you've got other situations where you've got math. You've got the golden ratio in Genesis 1:6 through 1:8, or 1:6, 1:8. You've got pi, which is Exodus 3:1-4. I've got plenty of other ones. You've got the calendar in the book of Enoch, where we have 65 days, or 65 days, and then for 300 days and 365 no more. Well, that's the 65th day of the year, is like March 4th or 5th. And that's when you do spring planting. The 300th day is October 27th. That's when you do fall harvest for a total of 365 days. You've got colors, and so I'll go back to what I like to tell everybody. I'll go ahead and explain Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2. And it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. Now the earth was formless and void. God's spirit was in darkness, hovering over the waters deep. Well, let's just figure out, well, what's formless and void? Well, formless and void is, I contend, four things. It's the color white. It's the absence of anything. It's fire. It's constellation Gemini. And it's the female form. Because, I think it was pretty much self-explanatory. God's spirit was in darkness. Well, darkness is a concentration of all colors, which makes black. But black in flesh makes the color gold. And spirit was hovering over the waters deep. Well, that's just another sign for the Aquarius constellation. Because the guy pouring the water, he's hovering over waters deep. So that's where that means. Let's see. As I said, I'm speaking just off the top of my head, so I just allowing this stuff to come out. So that's how that's just examples of how the Bible is a math book. You've got to look at not just it being just a collection of stories. It's a metaphor. It's everything. You just got to look at it right. And because I'm sharing this with you, this is a validation that I'm telling you right now. I don't want to have no more preachers, no more ministers, no more Baptists, Seventh-day Adventists, Mormons, all of you, you're fired. No rabbis, nothing. Because if you knew what I was saying and you knew this was true, then you would be talking about this. But because you don't know this, you are serving me no good. It's great that you taught people how to love, but you did it for profit. You insisted on having them tithe. You insisted on having them create a give and take relationship. And that's why I have such animosity and ill will towards people who have professed that they know the word. And this is why you're fired. And I assure you, if you don't do it, as I said, you will regret that you were never born. Because you'll find out the wrath of God, which will be unrelenting and everlasting. Now, this relationship between the Son of Man and Son of God, which I've declared I'm the Son of Man, and how the Son of God is who he is, and how you get these numbers, there's going to be a lot of people who attack me and are going to disbelieve me. And that's fine. I mean, it's already written in the Bible. I'm already prepared for that. But I don't want to be labeled the Antichrist, because here is the catch to what it means by the Antichrist. The Antichrist just means it's the opposite. Just because it means anti doesn't mean it's bad. So if the Son of God is Christ, or Jesus Christ, or Paul Christopher, because those two most prominent characters in the New Testament, the Antichrist would be someone who is flesh, who see all the flaws, who's walked amongst them. And this is why, and that's, like I said, I would encourage you to go back to my Facebook page for over the last 2.5, 3 years, probably even longer, before I was really truly awake. I've been posting this stuff to show you all this. But I had to come through life, and I had to walk amongst my supplies and see what was going on, and see where the flaws of human flesh were. And I'm telling you, I partied hard. I mean, a lot of people can tell you I've done a lot of stupid stuff in my life, and I'm just thankful that my ancestors forgave me for that and gave me this opportunity. They put a lot of faith and trust into me to do this and accomplish this, and I'm going to fulfill my part in making sure that their efforts are rewarded. And so this is why I'm writing what I'm writing, or sharing what I'm sharing in this video. I want to give everybody everlasting life. I mean, there's no point for us to live and die. I mean, I remember one of the very first things that I ever recall as a little boy, it's my grandfather passing away. And in his death, I was like, this sucks. I didn't get to know this guy, you know, and I'd like to know him. I like to see my mom. I like to see Father Tack. I like to see my grandparents. I like to go back and know all these people whose shoulders I stand upon. And this is why I'm sharing this and why I'm publicly declaring myself. You know, I've given you all ample information in the world, whether it be through music or arts or science, that I'm real. And I'm sharing this as this is the last day of the decade. And your senses, I mean, I have to tell you, my gestures, the Fallen 400, you guys did a good job in numbing people. You did me, even, in fact. You know, I came down here not knowing, but I'm well aware now of what's going on. And this is why I'm sharing it, because I'm ready to party, man. I'm ready to get this ball going. I'm ready to usher in the end of days. And I have nothing to fear. I don't fear death. I don't fear your words. I don't fear any of these things, because I know within my heart that these experiences that I've had are only I can relate to, and my job is to share them with you. And this is why I just want to put an end to it and try to share with you what's going on. And like I said, I mean, this seems kind of rambling. I mean, like I said, I don't have any bullet points, but I've put all these things down there. And one of the things I want to share is that, you know, one of the first things that happened was a few years back, I started going through figuring out the Bible, which as a Catholic, which I was raised, went to Notre Dame. In fact, I'm the second true fighting Irishman to graduate from Notre Dame, my father being the first and the Son of God being the third. And that offering is something that I'm very pleased about, as well as the success that my former high school has had. That's another great offering. These are the kind of offerings that I was looking for. But I'm very thankful for that. And I as human, I lost my train of thought. Because I said I got a lot of things in my mind. It's about how I discover who we are and what the existence of life is. I mean, all we are is stardust. And my job is to try to figure out how to harness this stardust. You know, I always have on my Facebook page, and my quote, it says that we're all born giant boulders, but fear not is over time that you become a small rock or a pebble. Because it was a pebble in the hands of David that slayed a Goliath. And that basically says this God's going to break you down into a size of a rock that he needs you to be, to use you for whatever purpose it is. And I've been broken down to this part to being a pebble, and this is why I'm about to slay this giant. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, to the Fallen 400 and all of you all, your time is up. You know, you all have hoarded things and created a dynamic in this reality that I'm not well with. You know, I know it's shocking to a lot of people's core to find out that this Lord of creation is not Caucasian. He's mixed race. He's Catholic. Well, not really. I'm ending Catholicism because of the transgressions that have been done by the Catholic priests. You guys have done some things that it's unforgivable. I mean, the molestation of children is an act that you all have done that you're going to severely be punished for eternity. I don't care what the Son of God says in regards to judging living and dead, because one thing that I've made sure is that he may judge living and the dead, and I'm not supposed to judge anybody, but it doesn't say anywhere that I can't put your ass in a place in the universe where you cannot be found. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to regret ever have had touched a child as a priest. That is, I won't ever forgive that. But I'm almost at the 15-minute mark, and I've just kind of been rambling, but I wanted to show you what I can do in regards to the Bible that makes me different and makes me stand apart, to show you that I want you to come back to the faith, the Abrahamic faiths, which I will unite: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. I always tell people that, you know, when cultivating fruit, what is the most important element? The seed, the root, or the branch? Well, you need all three. And that's what the Abrahamic traditions represent to me. Judaism is the seed, Christianity is the root, and Islam is the branch. Um, I don't want anybody killing anybody else in my name. Um, so you all who have these fatwas or whatever they're called, or you Muslim brothers that are fighting in Africa, killing people and say it's God's will and Allah's will, no, it's not. That's your will. And I would advise you to put that stuff down, because when the end of days commences, I tell you right now, if you think that anything in this earth, in this realm, is going to stop us or me doing from what I'm doing, well, you're more foolish than I thought, because there's nothing that's going to stop it. If I can bring back the dead, you think I'm worried about even your nuclear bomb, your bullets? Come test me. I guarantee you, you will make the biggest mistake of your life.